Now that we have had a little bit of time to digest the flurry of executive orders signed by the now 47th President of the United States, I'd like to talk about one specific one that really did catch my eye as soon as I saw it reported on. Among the reports from various news outlets that Trump has issued full and unconditional pardons for all of the January 6th participants, he's also signed a pardon for none other than our boy, Ross Ulbricht, aka Dread Pirate Roberts, the former administrator and creator of the OG Silk Road marketplace on the dark web. The Silk Road. It was a place where people could anonymously buy and sell theoretically anything. However, as time went on, it attracted more and more of the not-so-legal substances and weapons traders. Transactions were handled using Bitcoin, which was still a relatively new concept at the time, and had the air of anonymity around it, even though every single transaction was indeed recorded on the blockchain. But as long as they couldn't link their wallet addresses to your real identity, who really cared, right? Well, it wasn't long before the Silk Road became synonymous with dark web marketplaces and started catching the eyes of the glowy boys. After a couple years, Ross allegedly tried to distance himself from the site. I say allegedly because he was ultimately caught inside of a library logged into the administrative account on the Silk Road, but you know how it goes. He was arrested and charged with multiple crimes, including conspiracy to commit money laundering, computer hacking, drugs trafficking, a lovely list you could probably live your life without having. The courts didn't go easy on him either, and the sentence passed to him is what has ironically enabled him to be pardoned by Trump. Let me get into this. So, in 2015, he was ultimately sentenced to 2 life terms plus 40 years without the possibility of parole. It was essentially a throw away the key scenario that placed Ross Ulbricht as the example sentence to what happens to dark web market administrators if they get caught. In my opinion, and many other people's opinions, it was a completely ridiculous sentence. Murderers get less time in prison, and whilst the reasons behind this sentencing have been hotly debated over the years, it was a little over the top, you've got to admit, no matter who you are, what you think of what he did, especially when you compare it to the crimes that are actually violent in nature that don't even get a quarter of the sentence that this guy had. So let's just go through the original news report that I found about this story. US President Donald Trump says he's signed a full and unconditional pardon for Ross Ulbricht, who operated the Silk Road, the dark web marketplace where illegal drugs were sold. Ulbricht was convicted in 2015, yada yada. We all know the story of how Ross Ulbricht was ultimately arrested in a library. I'm sure it's a story we've all heard before. However, the bit that I want to draw attention to is this quote here that the BBC have quoted as for what Donald Trump has said. Quote, "The scum that worked to convict him were some of the same lunatics who were involved in the modern-day weaponization of government against me," Trump said in his post online. He continues on to say, he was given 2 life sentences plus 40 years. Ridiculous! Exclamation point. So, I don't think this commuting pardoning of Ross Ulbricht's sentence is entirely ideologically driven. This is definitely, I think, it definitely has an element of Donald Trump sort of giving it to the guys who tried desperately to get him locked up. During his trial, prosecutors said Ulbricht's website, hosted on the hidden dark web, sold more than $200 million worth of drugs anonymously. Only $200 million. I thought it was way more than that. Court documents from the FBI said the site had just under 1 million registered users, but investigators said they did not know how many were active. The judge noted that the lengthy sentence also acted as a message to copycats that there would be very serious consequences, and I think that is one of the largest issues with this entire case, and why ultimately Donald Trump was enabled to commute the sentence of Ross Ulbricht, is because the sentence was not proportional to the crime that had been committed. Typically, these larger sentences that are given to people are for either violent crimes, but the very fact that he was convicted, I don't know if it says it in the news report here. He wasn't directly prosecuted for any violent crimes, but he was only prosecuted for non-violent crimes, so hacking, buying stolen passports, drugs, etc. And it wasn't even him personally selling the drug. He created the platform that facilitated the sale of illegal goods. But then again, I am pretty damn surprised that Trump has issued the pardon, especially at the beginning of his 4-year tenure as president. He's really putting his foot down when it comes to the whole being president thing. And to be fair, I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to come next. I mean, we're only a day in, this is going to be a very interesting 4 years, that's for sure. But what do I know? I'm just a Brit Bong living on a wet island with a dodgy government. But more importantly, what do you think? Is this all just political manoeuvring? None of it is ideologically driven? I'm not sure, but let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. Please like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you really enjoyed it. I do apologise if this video seems a little bit not as put together as the other videos, but I just saw this and I had to make a video on it. Thank you again for watching. Subscribe and like the video if you did, and I'll hopefully see you in my next video.